Hello students, welcome to my class on operating system. I am Shravani Kundu, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Guru Nanak Institute of Technology. Today I will discuss the different process scheduling algorithm. After this lecture, you will be able to learn different scheduling algorithm, and you will be able to solve the problem based on the various scheduling algorithm. Now, the scheduling algorithm, as I discussed in my previous lecture, are of different types. They are the first come first serve scheduling algorithm, shortest job first scheduling algorithm, shortest remaining time first scheduling algorithm, round robin, and priority scheduling algorithm. First come first serve scheduling algorithm is already discussed in my previous lecture. You can follow it from there. Now, next, I will discuss the shortest job first scheduling algorithm. So, this SJF is called shortest job first scheduling algorithm. Okay. Now, from the name shortest job first, you can understand what will be the algorithm. So, as you know that each algorithm, each process runs for a definite time period. That means what will be the execution duration, what is the total execution duration that is fixed for the process. Now, let us say there are different processes like P1, P2, P3. So they are the set of processes, and this 10 milliseconds, 5 milliseconds, those are the burst time, and 6 milliseconds. So those are the burst time of the process. What is burst time? The burst time is the total time required for the execution of the process. That means the process P1 will be executed by the CPU for 10 milliseconds. Fine. Now, this SJF algorithm works on this burst time. That means so consider this is my ready queue. So this is my ready state, and the queue associated with the ready state is ready queue. So this is ready queue, and the processes P1, P2, P3 are present inside the ready queue. Now the scheduler has to select a process from the ready queue. Assume the scheduler works based on the SJF algorithm, that is shortest job first scheduling algorithm. So, shortest job first scheduling algorithm means the scheduler will select that process from the ready queue whose burst time is small, that is smallest compared to the other processes. So here you can see P1, P2, P3, three processes are stored inside the ready queue. So that means burst time of P1 is 10 milliseconds, P2 is 5 milliseconds, P3 is 6 milliseconds. So among the three burst time, the burst time for the process P2 is smallest. So the scheduler which has SJF algorithm runs with the SJF algorithm, select this process P2 from the queue and assign this process P2 to the running state. Fine. So here you can see that the selection of the process is based on the burst time of the process. The process whose burst time is less, that process will be selected first. So here P2 will be selected first, And after P2, so when the P2 will be selected, it will be removed from the ready queue. P2 doesn't exist no more anymore. Now, among P1 and P3, the P3 has the smaller burst time. So in the next iteration, the scheduler select P3 for the execution. So the P3 will be removed from the queue, and then P1 will be selected from the ready queue for the execution, and P1 will be removed from the queue because P1 is only one process which is present inside the ready queue. Okay, so here we will see how the shortest job first algorithm executes, she select us from a set of processes, and based on the selection, how the waiting time varies. Fine. So first we will select the set of processes. So consider there is a set of processes. So this is a process, better to write process. And the next one is the burst time. Here we will assume that all processes arrived in the ready queue at the same time. That means P1, P2, P3, whatever may be the processes, all processes are present inside the ready queue at the same time. Okay. Now consider there are a set of processes P1, P2, P3 and P4. And the burst time for the process P1 is 6 milliseconds. Let us say MS. P2 is 8 millisecond, 7 millisecond, and P4 is 3 millisecond. Now what we will do? We are using the algorithm SJF. Now we will draw the net chart for this particular algorithm. So the chart we will draw is called the net chart. Fine. Now, so here we are drawing a time series, and where this time series starts from the time 0. That means this is the time 0. Now, among those 4 processes, as all the processes are present in the ready queue at the same time, based on the criteria shortest job, we have to select anyone. So P1, P2, P3, P4, among them P4 has 3 millisecond burst time, so we should select the process P4 first. So P4 will be selected first and it will continue its execution. Now, while P4 will continue its execution, there are no other processes which burst time is less than P4. So P4 will start from 0 and it will end. So the next time slot will start from 3. Now P4 has completed its job. So it is eliminated from the ready queue. Now next, among P1, P2, P3, the P1 has the least burst time, 6 millisecond. So P1 will be assigned to the CPU first. Among P2 and P3, among 3 processes, P1 will be selected first. Now P1 burst time for the P1 is 6 milliseconds. So it will start from 3 and it will end. Let us say the next slot will start from 9 because the duration is 6. So this duration is 6. So P1 completed its execution. Now the next process which has to be executed, there are 2 more processes, P2 and P3. P3 has 7 millisecond burst time. P2 has 8 milliseconds. So P3 will be selected then next. So P3 will be selected next. So the starting time of the slot is 9. So it's execute till 7 milliseconds. So 9 plus 7, 16. So the next slot will start from 16. Now P3 has completed its execution. The remaining process is P2. So P2 will be selected and it will start from 16 and it will end. So that means the next process will start from the duration 24 because at its burst time is 8. So you can see we place the processes in the net chart depending on their execution sequence. So here you can see this is the duration is 3 milliseconds, this duration is 7 milliseconds, and this is 8. Fine. So let us say this is 3, this is 6, this is 7, and this duration is 8. Fine. So what we will do, we will calculate the waiting time for each process. Fine. So we will compute the waiting time. So what is the waiting time for the process P1? P1 started at time 3. So here we assume that all processes present at the same time. So here the arrival time for all processes, we assume it is 0. Because all processes are present in the ready queue at the same time. So what will be the waiting time for P1? P1 started at time 3 and it arrived at 0. So the waiting time is 3 minus 0 millisecond. Now for the process P2, you can see from the net chart, it starts from the time 16 milliseconds and it arrived at 0. So its waiting time is 16 minus 0 millisecond. Now for the process P3, what is the waiting time? P3 started from 9, arrived at 0. So waiting time is 9 minus 0. And for the process P4, it is 0 minus 0 milliseconds. So those are the waiting time for the different processes. Now the average waiting time, so here it is 3, it is 16, it is 3 milliseconds, it is 16 milliseconds, this is 9 milliseconds, this is 0 milliseconds. Now what is the average waiting time? The average waiting time is equals to, you have to add all of them, 3 plus 16 plus 9 plus 0 divided by 4. Fine. So if you compute, so it will be 9 plus 16, 25, 28 by 4. So it will be 7. Okay. Now the next important thing is that I will show you how to compute the another scheduling criteria, which is called the turnaround time. So I will show you how to compute the turnaround time based on the same nature. Now what is the definition of the turnaround time? The definition of the turnaround time is that the turnaround time for a process is the total duration it takes from the submission to the completion is execution. So while it is submitted, starting from that time, and while it is ended from up to that time, what is the total duration in between them? So that is called the turnaround time for the process, for that particular process. So here you can see that what is the turnaround time for the process P1. For the process P1, it ends at 9. It arrived at 0. So the turnaround time for the process P1 is 9 minus 0. For the process P2, what is the turnaround time? You can see that the process P2 ends at 24. So, and it's arrived at 0. So the turnaround time is 24 milliseconds. Now, if you see for the process P3, what is the turnaround time? You can see the P3 ended at the time 16. So 16 minus the arrival time 0, that is 16 milliseconds. And for the process P4, it ended at 3, so it is 3 minus 0, that is 3 millisecond, that is 3. So that is the turnaround time for each process. So what is the turnaround time? We have to find out the total time duration from the arriving time to the termination time. So between these two phases, what is the total time duration? That time duration is called the turnaround time. So here we subtracted the end time, we subtracted the arrival time from the ending time of each processes. So here again I am repeating, for P1 is ended at time 9 and it arrived at 0, so 9 minus 0. P2 ended at 24, so and arrived at 0, so 24 minus 0, 24 milliseconds. And subsequently P3 and P4. Fine. So this is the turnaround time, and you can also calculate the average turnaround time by adding all of them and dividing it by 4. So that is all about the SJF algorithm. Fine. Now we will execute the same SJF algorithm for a different scenario. Okay. So now let us say that here the arrival time for the SJF algorithm is 0000. That means all processes arrived at the same time. Now we will change them little bit. So let us assume that the process P1 arrived at time 1, P2 has arrived at time 2, and P4 is, P3 is 3 and P4 is 4. So we will add the different arrival time. So if P1 arrived at time 0, let us say 0, P2 at 1, P3 at 2, and P4 at 4. There are different arrival time. So that means all processes are not present in the ready queue at the same time. Fine. So what we will do? We will draw the net chart for it. So let us draw the net chart. So here you can see one important thing, that in case of SJF algorithm, all the processes arrived at the same time and they execute one after another, no issue. But if for the SJF algorithm, if there is the arrival time, then their execution pattern will vary. Okay, so let us see how it varies. So the starting time is 0. Okay, so this is 0. At time 0, you can see other than P1, no other processes are there. Okay, so you can see that at time 0, that means at the beginning, other than the process P1, no other processes are present. So I can just, for your understanding purpose, I just eliminate them. So at time 0, except P1, no other processes are there. So what will happen? We have to start the execution of the process P1. Fine. Now, at the next iteration, you can see that at time 1, the process P2 arrived. So in that time, while the P2 will arrive, P3 and P4 are not there. These two processes are not present. Only P2 is there. Fine. So P1 will execute up to 1 milliseconds. Let us consider the duration is milliseconds. So P1 will execute up to 1 millisecond. Fine. After 1 millisecond, the P2 arrived. So that means in our system, only P1 and P2, these two processes are there. So this set of processes is not there at time duration 1. Now, P1 already completed its 1 unit execution. So what is the remaining burst time for the P1? The remaining burst time for P1 is 5. Now we have to compare between 5 and 8. So between 5 and 8, again 5 is the smallest. So we will continue the execution of the P1. Fine. We will continue the execution of the P1. So we will not write it again. We will continue the execution of the P1 till another 1 second. So this timing duration is 2. Now at the time 2, the P3 arrived. Now what is the burst time? The burst time for P1 is 4, it is 8 and it is 7 at the time duration 2. So among 4, 8, 7, the 4 is the minimum. Fine. So P1 will continue. So again it will continue for 3. So at time T3 there is no other process because P4 arrived at time 4. So P1 will continue for another 1 second, 1 millisecond. So at time 4 milliseconds the P4 arrived. So here you can see already 4 units is over. So that means at time 4 the burst time for the process P1 is only 2 milliseconds. So now at time 4 all the processes P1, P2, P3, P4 arrive. So burst time for the process P1 is 2, P2 is 8, P3 is 7 and P4 is 3. Definitely 2 is less than all of them. So P1 will continue and it will complete its execution and the next slot will start from 6. Okay. So P1 will complete its execution. Now, while P1 will complete its execution, after that in my system, in our ready queue, only 3 processes are there, P2, P3, P4. Among P2, P3, P4, whose burst time is less? The burst time for P4 is less, 3 milliseconds. So here P4 starts its execution first. And it will continue up to 9. Fine. Now, after P4, the P3 will start because its burst time is 7. So it will start from 9 and continue, and the next time slot will start from 16. After P3, P4 will start and it will end at 24. That means the next slot will start from 24. So this is the NAT chart for the SJF algorithm. As this NAT chart is drawn based on the remaining burst time, so this SJF algorithm is known as shortest remaining time first algorithm, SRTF algorithm. So this is called shortest remaining time first algorithm. Right? Now you can compute the waiting time. So we are computing the waiting time for P1. Now if you compute the waiting time for P1, you can see that P1 arrived at 0 and started at 0. So the waiting time for P1 is 0 minus 0. Now P2, sorry, it will be P4 and P2, this is P2, right? Wrongly written P4, it will be P2. So P2 started at 16 and arrived at time 1. So its waiting time is 16 minus 1. For P3, it started at 9 and it arrived at time 2. So its waiting time is 9 minus 2. And for P4, it started at 6 and arrived at 4. So its waiting time is 6 minus 4. So if you can find the average waiting time also. Average waiting time, which is nothing but 0, 16 minus 1, 15 plus 7, 9 minus 2 and 2. Right? So you add them, divide it by 4. So it will be 24 by 4. Okay. 5.8 milliseconds. So this is the average waiting time for that process based on the shortest remaining time first algorithm. And you can see that in the previous case, for the same example, while we are executing with the help of the shortest SJF algorithm, the average waiting time was 7 milliseconds. So what is our objective? Our objective is we have to reduce the average waiting time. Fine. Now, another important features of SRTF algorithm, I will show you for the same example. I will just change the example little bit and I will show you that how the execution differs. Right? And then we will discuss that what are the which type of algorithms they are, whether they are preemptive algorithm and whether they are non-preemptive algorithm. Fine. So same example, we will consider the same example. We just rewrite them once again. So let us write down the problem over here. So here the processes are P1, P2, P3, P4. And burst time is considered, this is 4 milliseconds. Then it is, as it is 8 milliseconds. This is 7 milliseconds. This is 1 millisecond. Fine. And the arrival time is 0, 1, 2, 3. And okay, consider it, it is 5 milliseconds. Right? 5 milliseconds, 8 milliseconds, 7 milliseconds, 1 milliseconds. And this is the arrival time 0, 1, 2, 3. Right? This is the process P. This is our burst time. And this is our arrival time. Now we will solve this problem for the shortest remaining time first algorithm. Okay. Now the same, what we have to do? We have to draw the net chart for it. So first, let us draw the net chart for this algorithm. So here, fine. So you can see that the arrival time is very important factor over here. Okay. Here for the process P1, what is the arrival time? 0. And at that time 0, no other processes are there in the ready queue. So definitely P1 will get the chance. So P1 will get the chance for execution at time 0. Now after 1 unit of time, there is no other process. That means process P2 arrives. Its burst time is 8 milliseconds. But the burst time at that time 1, the burst time for the process P1 becomes 4 because already 1 unit is executed. It becomes 4 at time 1. So between 4 and 8, 4 is minimum. So P1 will continue. Now the next time duration, that means at time 2, the process P3 arrives. Now what is the burst time? Burst time now becomes 3. So among 3, 8 and 7, 3 is minimum. So P1 will continue. Now you can see at time 3. So this is my 3. At time 3, the process P4 arrives in the system. Now what is the burst time for the process P1? At time 3, the burst time for the process P1 is 2 milliseconds. And here you can observe one important feature, that the burst time for the process P1 is 2 milliseconds and the burst time for the process P4 is 1 milliseconds. As it is shortest remaining time first algorithm, so definitely P4 must get the chance before P1. Okay. So if P4 get the chance before P1, so P1 has to forcefully stop at this point and P4 will start from the point from the time 3 milliseconds. So here you can see the execution of the process P1 is forcefully stopped by some other process, as the burst time is, that process is less than P1. So execution of the process P1 can be forcefully stopped. So this type of algorithm for SRTF, as we can stop the execution of the process forcefully, this type of algorithm is called preemptive algorithm. Preemptive algorithm, right? But in the previous case, in case of shortest job first algorithm, if all process arrived at the same time, that means at the time 0, then there is no questions of forcefully termination of the execution of any process. So we can say in that case, in that scenario, if all processes arrived at the same time and we don't need to forcefully stop the execution of any process, then we can say the SJF is non-preemptive algorithm. Fine? Non-preemptive algorithm. Fine. So now we will continue the solution of this problem. So now after P1, P4 will get the chance, and as the burst time of P4 is only 1 unit, so at time 4, P4 will complete his execution. So P4 will terminate at time 4. Now in the system, what are the remaining processes? P1, P2, P3. So burst time for the process P1 is now 2 milliseconds, so P1 will get the chance first. Again P1 will start and it will take 2 milliseconds and it will stop. That is the time next slot will start from 6. Now here between P2 and so P3 completed its execution, P3 is not present in the system. Now P2 and P3, between these two processes, P3 will get the chance. P3 will start its execution and it will end at 13. Next slot will start at 13. Then P2 start from 13 and end. That means the next slot will start from 21. Okay. So this is the nature for this particular example. So here we will compute the waiting time. So what is the waiting time for the process P1? The waiting time for the process P1 is, you can see, consider this case. P1 started at 0, okay, and arrived at 0. So waiting time for is 0 minus 0, fine. Plus, again, P1 started from this point. That means P1 ended, leave the CPU at this point, and again P1 started from this point. So P1 has to wait between these two periods. So what is the waiting time? The waiting time over here is 4 minus 3. Fine. Now for P2. P2 arrived at 1 and started at 13. So 13 minus 1, 12 is the waiting time for P2. Now, next one is P3. For the process P3, you can see P3 started at 6. And when it arrived at 2. So it will be 6 minus 2. For the process P4, it started at 3 and arrived at 3, so its waiting time is 0. So we will compute the average waiting time. So the average waiting time is equals to, so this is 4 minus 3, that is 1. So it will be 1 plus 12 plus 4 plus 0 divided by 4, as there are 4 processes. So it is 17 by 4. That is 4.25. So here you can see, by using the SRTF algorithm with preemptive features, we can reduce the execution time further. Fine. So this is called the preemptive nature of the SJF algorithm. So preemptive nature of the SJF algorithm is sometimes called the shortest remaining time first algorithm. Right? And you also can execute the SRTF algorithm with the help of the non-preemptive nature. So if the SRTF algorithm is executed as the non-preemptive algorithm, in that case, P4 will not get the chance before P1. So once P1 will get the CPU, it will complete its execution and then it will leave P4. That means at this time, that means when the at time 3 milliseconds, so at this due time when the P4 arrived, so you can see that at time 3 P4 arrived, and during this time the burst time of P1 was 2, but still as it is the non-preemptive nature, the nature of the algorithm is non-preemptive, so what will happen, P1 will not continue its execution, P1 will continue its execution and P2, P4 will wait. So in that case, so if we draw the net chart for the non-preemptive nature, so the net chart will be something like that. P1 will complete its execution at time 4 and then P4 will get the chance and it will start from 4 and end with 5. And then P3 will start from 5 and end with so what is the duration of the P1? Duration of the P1 was 5. So definitely it will be 5. It is 5. It will be 6. So P3 will start from 6. It will end at 13. And then P2 will start from 13 and it will end at, that is the time the next slot will start from 21. Clear? So this is the net chart for the same problem where we use the SRTF algorithm, but the nature of the execution is non-preemptive. This is the net chart. So make it very clear. This net chart for the same problem for same algorithm SRTF, but here SRTF is executed as preemptive nature. If it is executed at preemptive nature, the net chart will be like this one. But if the same algorithm, same problem will be executed as non-preemptively, then the net chart will be different. So here it will P1 will start as P1 gets the CPU at time 0, it will never leave it until and unless it will complete its execution. So P1 will complete its execution and then P4 will start. So P1 will start from 0, end, that means the next slot will start from 5. So P4 will get the CPU at the time 5. Clear? So this is the SRTF algorithm with non-preemptive. So these two are very important because this is a very interesting problem, and this type of problem sometimes may come in, always comes, not sometimes, it always come in the higher studies, and the same algorithm you have to execute for the same problem set either preemptively or non-preemptively. So this term is very important. It will be specified that use SRTF, preemptive SRTF algorithm, use non-preemptive SRTF algorithm. So based on the different types of algorithm, the answer will vary. Fine. So that is all about the shortest remaining time first algorithm. Now in the next class, I will discuss the priority scheduling and round robin scheduling algorithm, and along with that, I will discuss the algorithm for multiple level queue scheduling. So for those are the, here the queue has a single level. So if the queue has the multiple level, then how the multiple level queue, how the scheduling algorithm can execute the process. So we'll discuss that thing on the next class.